What's up, everybody? It's your boy again, the Unibonger, and today I want to talk about the Charmed Reboot. Now, before you start snapping your fingers and swiveling your head side to side and saying, you go girl, I'm not a diehard fan of the Charmed TV series. I just started watching it on Netflix a couple months back because I was talking to a buddy about the Harvey Weinstein and Rose McGowan #MeToo bullshit, and he was all like, who the fuck is Rose McGowan? And I said she was in the first Scream movie, which elicited a blank stare. She used to date Marilyn Manson and had her tits out at the MTV Music Video Awards? Still nothing. She went on that TV show Charmed in the late 90s? I had never watched the show at this point, so I made the joke, it's kind of like Baywatch but for goth kids. I still like that joke, but having watched 2.5 seasons now, I think a more accurate joke is, it's like Baywatch but for lesbians. Lame jokes aside, I do find Charmed to be entertaining and watch another episode every once in a while. Holly Marie Combs from Picket Fences is Piper.
I'd give her the Piper.
The motherly acting sister, the good girl type with the most modest bust of the bunch. She, like her sisters, is a witch, and with her powers, she can freeze time. Shannon Doherty from Beverly Hills 90210 is Prue, the bitchy sister who has a pretty decent rack and can move things with her mind. She would be the hottie of this show if it weren't for Alyssa Milano from Who's the Boss and the Schwarzenegger classic Commando. Alyssa is Phoebe, the goofy comic relief sister who can see the future. While all of these women are hotter than anyone I could ever bang in real life, I feel as though Alyssa is clearly the hottest of the three. Maybe that's just me and maybe you have a different opinion, but you're wrong. And I haven't even made it to where Rose McGowan joins the show yet. And yeah, she's hot, but she's not Alyssa Milano hot. Come on now. The premise, the story of the show, is these three sisters find out they're witches and kick a demon's ass every week. But come on, we all know the real draw of the show is, hey, you remember that girl from that old TV show you thought would grow up to be hot? Well, here's 3 of them! And they wear belly shirts and Alyssa Milano learned karate and would start bouncing around in a fight scene towards the end of every episode, and it was the late 90s, so then Shannon Doherty started to use her telekinesis powers to do Matrix-esque fight scenes. It's like Charlie's Angels, but it's witches, man! These sad teenagers will gobble this shit up! It's a fun show that's drawn in a lot of fans, which I'm sure is why the CW has recently announced they are going to reboot the show. Now, while there has been much fan outrage about this announcement, about feminist ideology and transgenders and dykes and all the social justice warrior bullshit that's being shoved down the public's throats, that's actually not what I'm here to talk about today. What I'm interested in is, who will be cast for this new Charmed series? Now, I feel the powers that be at the CW should try to emulate the success of the original series and cast a trio of young, beautiful women who have been cast in popular TV shows and movies previously. I already know this probably won't happen, but I think they'd have a better chance at success than casting 3 unknowns. With that in mind, I'm going to do my best Alyssa Milano impression and take a look into the future. Here's my casting choices for Charmed, the next generation. First up, we've got Eliza Dushku. I think she was in the Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV series, and I remember her from the cheerleader movie Bring It On, no homo, and the Schwarzenegger classic True Lies. And I think I'd cast her as the bitchy sister. While I think she's smoking hot and she is recognizable from other shows, she's probably a little too old, which probably indicates that I am too old myself and I'm not the target market for this reboot, but when has that ever stopped me from spouting my opinion before? Next is Danielle Harris. I remember her best as Bruce Willis's daughter in The Last Boy Scout, and I haven't watched it in years, but wasn't she in the Rob Zombie remake of Halloween, and she's running around with her tits out? Hell yeah, let's cast her in this remake, even though she was in an episode of the original series. Again, probably too old, but I still think she's hot. I'd cast her as the goofy one bouncing around, karate kicking everybody. And to round out this trio, I'm casting Lacey Sherbert, I don't really know how to say her name. This casting, I'm not as sure about. Pretty sure she was first in the TV show Party of 5, which I've never seen, and the movie Mean Girls, which I've also never seen. But I've got eyes in my head and she seems about the same age as my other choices. So boom, she's stuck being the mom character. Now, I know Hollywood is a busy town, and stars might not align correctly, and this cast might not be possible. So I've picked another set of Hallowell sisters. First up, we've got Jamie Lynn Sigler, also known as Tony Soprano's daughter, and I'd cast her as the mom. Next up is Kat Dennings from Thor and the 40-Year-Old Virgin, and some show on CBS where she's a waitress? I don't know what it's called. I just thought of her for this because I saw the show was recently canceled. Her face is pretty busted, but that rack though, I'd cast her as the goofy one with her tits bouncing around all over the place. And third up, I'd cast Abigail Breslin, most famously from Little Miss Sunshine. She's all grown up now, but I don't know if she's of legal age yet, so I don't know if it's okay to say this, but she's pretty racked out. She might be giving old Cat a run for the money with the part of the bouncy sister, but I'd cast her as the bitchy one. I just get that vibe from her, you know? I've tweeted these casting suggestions with Photoshop DVD covers to the CW, but I've heard no response, and I'm not holding my breath. I thought of some other possible casting choices, like Chloe Grace Moretz and Ariel Winter, but I'm pretty sure they're both still getting work, so they probably wouldn't be down for this show. Again, let's be honest, my casting choices aren't even real possibilities, and in honor of that, I give you my third set of casting choices. Snooki from Jersey Shore as the mom acting bitch, Danielle, Cash Me Outside, How About That, Gregoli from Dr. Phil and YouTube, I guess, as the goofy, bouncy eye candy that makes you feel slightly perverted, but you don't care because of how big her titties are, and Randy as Lord from South Park as the bitchy one. What do you think of my casting choices, and who would you cast for the Charmed Reboot? Post your choices in the comments below, or, if you want me to see them in a more timely fashion, tweet me at the Unibonger. While you're still here, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button harder than you hit the pipe. And hit the pipe harder than you hit your wife and kids.